Yeah, but this is super interesting, isn't it? Because this is these cultural things are actually way more important potentially in dealing with these really complex, enormous challenges that we've got with our sort of waste culture that's impacting our life support system, the ocean. And it's fascinating, that Italy piece. And again, you sort of think, well, yeah, how do we sort of build those kinds of ideas, because they feel really interesting as well to people. Like, why would you always just be on the go? Like, what is that all about? Where are we going?
Exactly. And I think it will be interesting to see how our habits shift, and actually, does everyone want to get back on the go, or actually have people slowed down? Are people happy now to pop to the bakery and have a bit more time to go to a local store, than constantly having to be eating out, getting takeaways, having everything on the go? So no, I do think it is going to be interesting to see what happens.
So, guys, I just want to bring it back to our community online now, listening in, and like, where would you point people? Where would you encourage people, like, to become more active in this space? There's obviously some of the shifts we're talking about, but where do you feel we need more engagement? We really need more people to step into action. Give us a sense of things. They could be projects, specifics, just hunches. Just open it up.
I mean, from my experience, I think we're seeing an amazing reaction in Bali when people come to cleanups. And as simple as a cleanup is, it's not going to change the plastic pollution problem, but attending one of these cleanups is going to make you realize how much trash is out there, how much trash is entering our ocean. And just the mere fact of participating in one of these can truly change mindsets. And I think that making people volunteer a little bit more is an easy way of potentially stepping into the conversation of what can you do, what can you avoid. And something that I like to tell people is you start auditing your trash. Once you attend the cleanup, you'll see that there's a ton of coffee mugs out there. So maybe you don't go on the go and get these coffee mugs to go, and you can just make that simple switch. But I think attending a cleanup is always a good first step.
Thank you. Sadie, what about you?
Yeah, there are so many local organizations here in the United States that desperately want your help and support and time, and just getting connected with them off the bat. I'm thinking of like Greenpeace or the Citizens Climate Lobby. If there's a particular issue in your community, either going to like one of those cleanups or you see, a specific type of plastic pollution again and again, talking to your local council member about it. And sort of forging together solutions on the legislative front is another pathway forward.
Joe, what about you?
Just echo what these guys said, and I guess bringing it back to cities, and if people don't have access to cleanups, a really great way of connecting with it is to do a plastics audit. Have a look at what you put in your trash over the course of a week. Because I think that can actually be a real eye-opener, and by doing that you can identify, okay, actually which of these items could I probably phase out, have like quite a few crisp packets or drinks bottles, or is there quite a lot of fruit and veg packaging that you could very easily switch out with something like a veg box, or going to a local greengrocer. So I think that's a really good place to start. Looking at what you can change, and just making simple behavioral changes, carrying a water bottle, taking your reusable coffee cup out with you, and reminding other people to do the same. I think that's what we need to create this tipping point, is normalizing this behavior. We know it takes about 3.5% for behaviors to start to change culturally. So the more that we can make all of these behaviors normalized, the sooner we're going to be able to see that shift. And it shows brands and businesses that the demand is there from consumers as well.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because there's been this kind of, like, at least in the UK, this sort of like lots of people kind of collecting data on their sort of health, like how much am I drinking, how much am I doing these things. And it's like this idea of like sort of like measuring your kind of impact on the planet's health by doing these kind of audits is kind of interesting, actually, because when you start collecting those, like you say, you start looking at kind of what you're getting through in an average week, for example, it's probably quite terrifying, and if we can sort of see ourselves to if we could shift that kind of thinking, we've spoken quite a lot about that today. It's been coming through, this, how do we start to think beyond just ourselves, because we're such a we're living in we've been living in such a sort of individualized culture, like, I want this, I need this, what can I get? But this idea of like, can we shift to sort of thinking, what am I impacting here? Like, how are the generations down the line, I often look at, you're looking at, I have a bin at home, and it's like, I find it mortifying when I look at it, because we've got all this recycling, but you look at it and you just go, this is going to landfill, and it's just going to be there for hundreds, thousands of years, or whatever it is. And it's just, I think that shift, isn't it? It's like, how do we sort of open up to thinking of this bigger health beyond our own thing, beyond our own sort of agenda. And I love, actually, Sam, what you were just saying, because there's a lot of folks, this bringing creativity into this, and you talked about, running across the US, building these canoes, and I think there's something so fascinating about this potential we have now in a very connected world, to actually do things right with our creativity, which help more folks grasp the problem and take action. And I think what you're doing there is fascinating. I think there's lots of folks listening who, who again are looking at different forms of activism. So I love this kind of creative activism that you've been getting up to. So yeah, anything else for you guys that's coming up for you with all of this?
Yeah, I think just kind of adding on that point about really empowering communities. So a really key part of the work that we do is engaging schools, engaging local communities, and empowering people to actually take action where they live. So we have our refill campaign. We have a kind of localized model where people can set up a scheme in their local area. They can do things like organize beach cleans, but they can also take action by mapping places that people can access refill and reuse options on the app. They can run events and engage local people to reduce plastic directly where they live. And for us, that's been really, really effective as a campaign tool, and has enabled us to connect in with councils locally, with other community groups as well. So whether you live in a city, we've got Refill London, or you live on a tiny island in the Outer Hebrides, you can still make a difference and change the situation where you live as well. Not just preventing plastic directly, but also again, kind of influencing change within your local area and working with local businesses.
I think relaying off that, utilizing the tools that are available to you at your fingertips, and whether you're an amazing public speaker or you have this huge audience on TikTok, whatever it is, or you don't have to do either, but whatever tools you have available to you, or skills or talents or passions, and using that as a tool to raise awareness and to get more people to get involved is also, I think, a good one.
Love it. Sadie, anything to add?
I think looking at issues from a systems level is also really helpful context to bring into the work. It's you see plastic pollution in your community. What does it look like, not only for local level change, but also systemic change, and using that as a vantage point to enter your activism journey.
Amazing. Right. So we've been sort of closing these sessions with this question, right? We've got you an hour with the G7 leaders, right? We're gonna get you in the room down the coast. What are you going to do with them? What are you going to say to them?
I would bring them on the river. I'd bring them down the Chitaram River on a plastic bottle kayak and show them, this is where all of our trash is going in a lot of countries. And unless we're creating a waste management infrastructure together and working with the manufacturers of this waste, this is going to continue happening for years to come. And I think unless you experience that firsthand, it can be difficult to understand the scale of the problem.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's got to be taking them right to the cause of the issue. So either connecting them to where the plastic's ending up, or I would take them to a waste recycling plant, because that just absolutely blew my mind when you see the scale of trucks just arriving one after another with all your household waste and saying, this is just from this morning in one corner of Bristol. Really brings it to life, and just looking then at what happens from it. So I think really making them face it and come up with some more practical solutions would definitely be one for me.
Sadie?
Like Sam and Joe, I would also take the G7 leaders to the sort of the downstream impacts of plastic pollution. I'm specifically thinking of incinerators, and in Baltimore specifically, 70% of all of the trash goes into incinerators. And, you know, obviously it's a very striking image to see all this billowing smoke and toxins.
And then we're into air pollution, right, as well as the ocean.
We're in air pollution, yeah.
What else is there left? Guys, listen, Sam, Joe, Sadie, we're out of time. Thank you so much for everything you do. We encourage everyone to follow your work, get involved. Yeah, thank you for joining us here on C7, and good luck with everything.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye,
Thank
guys.
you guys. Bye.